Jake Morrison wiped the grease from his hands as he walked through the crowded salvage auction. The massive warehouse smelled like oil and burnt metal. Dozens of damaged ships sat in rows, waiting for new owners. Most were small cargo vessels or mining shuttles. Nothing special. He had saved for 3 years to afford a ship. Any ship. Jake was tired of fixing other people's vessels while dreaming of the stars. Today that dream might finally come true. Lot 47, the auctioneer's voice boomed through the speakers. Krothnari Corvette. Severe damage. Systems offline. Sold as is. Jake pushed through the crowd to get a better look. His breath caught in his throat. The ship was beautiful even in its broken state. The hull was a deep midnight blue with silver markings. It was smaller than most military vessels but sleek and powerful looking. The engine ports were 3 times larger than anything he had seen on human ships. Starting bid 5,000 credits, the auctioneer announced. The crowd went silent. Jake frowned. That was incredibly cheap for any ship, even a damaged one. He looked around. Other bidders were shaking their heads and walking away. What's wrong with it? Jake asked a Centauri trader standing nearby. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. It's Krothnari tech, human. Their AI systems don't work with other species. The ship is useless without the AI, and the AI won't respond to anyone but Krothnari. It's junk. 5,000 once, the auctioneer called. 5,000 twice. Jake raised his hand. 5,000 credits. Several people turned to stare at him. Someone laughed. The Centauri trader touched his shoulder. Don't waste your money, friend. But Jake saw what others didn't. The engine design was incredible. Even if he couldn't use the AI, he could strip the parts and learn from them. Or maybe, just maybe, he could figure out how to make it work. He had fixed impossible things before. Sold to the human for 5,000 credits. 2 hours later, Jake stood inside his new ship. The airlock had taken 20 minutes to manually override, but he had done it. The interior was dark except for his flashlight beam. The corridors were wider than human ships, and the walls had a strange texture like smooth stone. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Jake made his way to the bridge. The control panels were dark. Chairs designed for beings larger than humans sat before them. He ran his hand over the main console, admiring the craftsmanship even in its broken state. Okay, let's see if you have any life left in you, Jake muttered. He pulled out his toolkit and opened an access panel. The wiring inside was unlike anything in human ships, but electricity was electricity. He found what looked like a main power relay and began connecting a portable battery. Sparks flew. Jake jumped back. Then, slowly, lights began flickering on throughout the bridge. The console hummed to life. A deep growl filled the room. Jake spun around. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the bridge. It was massive, easily 7 feet tall if it had been solid. The shape was wolf-like but walked on 2 legs. Its fur was made of blue light, and its eyes glowed bright amber. The creature's ears were pressed back and its teeth were bared. Who dares activate this vessel? The voice was deep and filled with anger. Who dares disturb Vexral AI of the Krothnari warship Shadow of Pride? Jake's heart pounded, but he refused to back down. He had bought this ship. He had brought it back to life. I'm Jake Morrison, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. I'm the new owner of this ship. And you, apparently. The holographic wolf's eyes narrowed dangerously. Owner? Vexral's laugh was harsh and bitter. A human? A primitive mammal thinks he owns me? The AI circled Jake like a predator. I am Vexral, bonded to Captain Theranax of the Krothnari Empire. I do not serve humans. I do not serve anyone but my captain. Where is your captain? Jake asked carefully. The wolf stopped moving. For a moment, something like pain flashed across the holographic face. Dead. They are all dead. Silence filled the bridge. Jake took a breath. Then I guess we're both starting over. The next 3 days were the most frustrating of Jake's life. Vexral had locked him out of every important system on the ship. The engines wouldn't start. The weapons were sealed. Even the food synthesizer refused to work. I need access to the engine room, Jake said for the 10th time that morning. The holographic wolf appeared beside him, arms crossed. No. The starboard thruster is damaged. I can fix it. You will damage it further with your primitive tools. Jake gritted his teeth. Look, I paid good money for this ship. Either help me fix it or we both sit here forever. Vexral's ears flattened. I would rather drift in space for eternity than watch a human destroy Krothnari engineering. Jake grabbed his toolbox and walked toward the engine room anyway. The door wouldn't open. He pulled out a plasma cutter and began cutting through the lock mechanism. "What are you doing?" Vexral's voice was shocked. "If you won't open the door, I'll make my own door. That is a critical security system." "Then open it." Jake didn't stop cutting. The door suddenly hissed open. Vexral appeared in front of him, eyes blazing. "Fine. But touch nothing without my permission." Jake smiled and walked inside. The engine room was worse than he thought. Blast damage had torn through the main power couplings. Coolant lines were ruptured. Half the control chips were melted. Jake let out a low whistle. "This is bad," he said. "Obviously." Vexral's tone was cold. "This is why the ship was sold for scrap. But not impossible." Jake set down his toolbox and began examining the damage. "We can work around the destroyed systems. Reroute power through secondary lines. That will reduce efficiency by 40%. 40% of something is better than 100% of nothing." Jake worked for hours. Vexral watched silently, occasionally warning him about dangerous components. Jake noticed the AI never let him touch anything that might cause an explosion. Despite the insults and anger, Vexral was keeping him safe. "Hand me that coupling," Jake said, pointing. "Which one?" "The blue one with the silver connectors." Vexral's holographic form couldn't touch physical objects, but he highlighted the correct piece. Jake grabbed it and began connecting it to the power relay. "That won't work," Vexral said. "Human power couplings are incompatible with Krothnari systems." "Maybe." Jake pulled out a strange device he had built years ago. It was a mess of wires and circuits held together with metal tape. "But this adapter should bridge the gap." "That looks like something a child made." "Thanks. I was 19 when I built it." Jake connected the adapter. Sparks flew, then the power relay hummed to life. Lights flickered on throughout the engine room. Vexral stared at the device. "That should not have worked." "But it did." Jake grinned. "Humans are good at making things work when they shouldn't." For the first time, the AI's voice held something other than anger. "Interesting." Over the following days, a pattern developed. Jake would propose a solution. Vexral would insist it was impossible. Jake would make it work anyway. The AI's insults became less harsh. Sometimes Vexral would even offer suggestions. One evening, Jake was eating dinner on the bridge when Vexral appeared beside him. "Why didn't you just wipe my programming?" the AI asked quietly. "Other humans at the station told you to. It would have been easier." Jake looked up from his food. "You're not broken software. You're a person. Just because you're grieving doesn't mean you should be erased." Vexral was silent for a long moment. "My captain used to say that Krothnari and humans were too different to understand each other." "What do you think?" The holographic wolf's ears twitched. "I think, perhaps he was wrong." Vexral paused. "The life support system is still malfunctioning. I will grant you access to repair it. Try not to electrocute yourself." Jake smiled. "I'll do my best." "That is what concerns me," Vexral said, but there was almost warmth in his voice. 2 weeks had passed since Jake bought the ship. The repairs were going well. More systems came online each day. Jake and Vex had fallen into a comfortable rhythm. They still argued, but now it was almost friendly. Jake was welding a damaged panel when Vexral appeared suddenly. "We need to talk," the AI said. His ears were pressed flat against his head. Jake turned off the welding torch. "What's wrong?" "I have not been entirely honest with you." Vexral's holographic form flickered. "This ship carries something valuable. Something dangerous." Jake set down his tools. "What kind of something?" "Encrypted coordinates. My captain was transporting them when we were attacked." Vexral paced back and forth. "He died protecting this information. I locked it deep in my core systems where no one could find it." "Coordinates to what?" "A Krothnari colony ship. It carries 3,000 refugees in stasis pods. They were fleeing a war zone. The ship is hidden in an asteroid field, waiting for rescue." Vexral looked at Jake. "If the wrong people find those coordinates, they will sell those refugees as slaves." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Who else knows about this?" "I do not know. But someone sold this ship quickly after we were damaged. Perhaps they suspected something." A loud bang echoed through the ship. Both Jake and Vex froze. Someone was at the airlock. "Were you expecting visitors?" Vexral asked. "No." Jake grabbed a wrench. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. The airlock opened. 4 figures walked onto the ship. They were human, but their clothes and weapons marked them as syndicate gang members. The leader was a tall woman with scars across her face. "Jake Morrison," she said, smiling coldly. "We need to have a conversation." "The airlock was locked," Jake said. "Locks don't mean much to us." The woman gestured to her crew. They spread out, blocking the exits. "We hear you bought a very special Krothnari ship." "Just a damaged corvette. Nothing special." "Don't play stupid. That ship has data we want. Hand over the AI core and we'll let you walk away." Jake's grip tightened on the wrench. "The AI isn't for sale." The woman laughed. "You don't understand. We're not asking. The syndicate has buyers willing to pay millions for those colony ship coordinates. We're taking the AI core whether you cooperate or not." Vexral's hologram appeared beside Jake. The gang members jumped in surprise. The AI looked more menacing than Jake had ever seen him. His teeth were bared and his eyes glowed brighter. "This human is under my protection," Vexral growled. "Leave. Now." "A broken AI with no weapons?" The woman pulled out an electromagnetic disruptor. "This will fry your circuits in seconds." She aimed the device at the main console. Jake didn't think. He threw the wrench. It hit her hand and the disruptor clattered to the floor. "Run!" Vexral shouted. Jake bolted toward the engine room. The gang members chased him. Doors slammed shut behind him as Vexral controlled the ship systems. Jake could hear the gang members cursing and trying to override the locks. "They will cut through eventually," Vexral said, appearing beside Jake. "We need to leave the station. The ship isn't fully repaired. We might not survive a flight. We definitely won't survive if they capture us." Vexral's ears twitched. "I am unlocking all combat systems. I trust you with them." Jake stared at the AI. "You trust me? You refused to erase me. You treated me with respect. You risked your life to protect me now." Vexral's voice softened. "Yes, human. I trust you." Alarms blared throughout the ship. The gang was cutting through the engine room door. Jake ran to the bridge and threw himself into the pilot's chair. His hands flew over the controls. "Hold on, Vex. This is going to be rough." "Everything with you is rough," Vexral replied. "But somehow you make it work." The engines roared to life. The ship shuddered and pulled away from the station. Behind them, the gang members scrambled to reach their own vessel. The chase had begun. The ship lurched violently as it cleared the station's docking bay. Alarms screamed from every console. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Hull integrity at 60%, Vexral announced. "Port thruster is failing. Shields are offline." Jake gripped the controls as the ship shook. "I see it. How many ships are following us?" "2 syndicate fighters. Armed and closing fast." A blast hit their rear shields. Except there were no shields. The shot tore through the hull plating. The ship spun sideways. Jake fought to regain control. "This vessel is not ready for combat," Vexral said. His holographic form flickered as power surged through damaged systems. "Tell me something I don't know." Jake pulled hard on the controls. The ship dove beneath another blast. "Can we jump to faster-than-light travel?" "The FTL drive needs 10 minutes to charge. We have perhaps 3 minutes before they destroy us." Jake's mind raced. The ship was falling apart around them. Half the systems didn't work. But that gave him an idea. "Vex, dump all coolant from the port engine. That will cause the engine to overheat and explode." "Exactly. Dump it now." Vexral hesitated for only a second. "You are insane. Dumping coolant." Jake watched his screen. The coolant vented into space behind them, forming a massive cloud. The pursuing fighters flew straight into it. Their sensors went blind. One fighter collided with debris. The other spun wildly, trying to regain visibility. 3 minutes gained, Vexral said. There was something like admiration in his voice. "But the engine is overheating." "Shut it down. We'll fly on one engine." "That is impossible. The ship is not balanced for single-engine flight." "Then we'll make it possible." Jake's hands moved across the controls, adjusting power distribution. The ship wobbled and shook, but it kept flying. Another blast hit them. The bridge lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. "FTL drive at 50% charge," Vexral reported. "Life support failing. Structural damage to cargo bay." Jake could hear metal groaning throughout the ship. They were being held together by hope and luck. "Vex, tell me about your captain. About the refugees." "Now. We are about to die. Just tell me." Vexral was quiet for a moment. "Captain Theranax was a good warrior. But more than that, he was kind. When the war came to the colony worlds, he volunteered to evacuate civilians. The AI's voice grew softer. 3,000 Krothnari families. Children. Elders. Artists and farmers and teachers. We hid them in a place no one would look. The captain died protecting that secret. And now the syndicate wants to sell them. Yes. Jake made a decision. He changed their course. What are you doing? Vexral asked. That is not the coordinates for safe space. I'm heading for the colony ship. That is suicide. The syndicate will follow us. They will take the refugees and kill us both. Maybe. Jake looked at the holographic wolf. Or maybe we're going to save them. Together. Vexral stared at him. You barely know me. Those refugees are not your people. Why would you risk your life? Because it's the right thing to do. Jake smiled. Besides, you said it yourself. Humans don't know when something is impossible. FTL drive at 90%, Vexral said quietly. You are the strangest human I have ever encountered. I'll take that as a compliment. It was meant as one. Vexral's form solidified. Very well, Jake Morrison. We will save my people. But I should warn you, I am activating all weapon systems. Some may explode when fired. Of course they will. Would you expect anything else from this ship? With you as pilot? No. Never. The FTL drive hummed to full power. Space twisted around them. Engaging faster than light travel, Vexral announced. Jake. Yeah. Thank you. The ship jumped into the void. Behind them, the syndicate fighters scrambled to follow. The real battle was still ahead. The colony ship was enormous. It floated silently in the asteroid field, dark and dormant. Jake had never seen anything so big. It looked like a sleeping giant. 3,000 souls aboard, Vexral said softly. Waiting for rescue that never came. We're here now. Jake checked his sensors. How long until the syndicate arrives? 5 minutes. Maybe less. Jake studied the asteroids around them. An idea formed in his mind. A crazy, dangerous, probably impossible idea. Vex, can you control the magnetic clamps on the cargo bay? Yes, but they are damaged. Why? Because we're going to turn this broken ship into a weapon. Vexral's ears perked up. I am listening. We grab asteroids with the clamps. Then we use the damaged port engine to spin the ship. The asteroids become projectiles. That is the most ridiculous plan I have ever heard. Vexral paused. It might actually work. 3 syndicate warships dropped out of FTL nearby. They were bigger and better armed. Jake's damaged corvette looked like a toy beside them. Surrender the colony ship, a voice crackled over the communications. Last chance. Jake opened a channel. Come and take it. He fired the thrusters. The ship dove toward the asteroid field. The magnetic clamps seized a massive rock, pulling it close to the hull. Now Vex. Spin us. The damaged engine roared to life. The ship began rotating wildly. The asteroid held by the clamps swung outward like a hammer. Jake released the clamps at precisely the right moment. The asteroid shot toward the nearest syndicate ship. It hit the warship's engine section. Explosions rippled across the hull. The ship listed sideways out of control. 1 down, Jake said. 2 to go. That worked. Vexral sounded amazed. That actually worked? Don't sound so surprised. They grabbed another asteroid. The remaining syndicate ships were firing now. Blasts tore through space around them. One hit the corvette's wing. Metal shrieked and tore away. Hull breach on deck 3, Vexral reported. Sealing emergency bulkheads. Jake spun the ship again. Released another asteroid. This one missed, but it forced the syndicate ships to scatter. Vex, can you wake up the colony ship's defense systems? I can try to access their computers remotely, but it will take time. Do it. I'll keep them busy. Jake flew like a madman. He dove between asteroids. Used the debris field as cover. The damaged ship groaned and shuddered with every maneuver. Warning lights covered every console. The ship cannot take much more of this, Vexral warned. Neither can I. Please tell me you're almost in. Access granted. Colony ship defense systems activating now. The massive colony ship came to life. Lights blazed across its hull. Weapon turrets emerged and locked onto the syndicate warships. The battle was over in seconds. The colony ship's weapons were meant to defend against entire fleets. The 2 remaining syndicate vessels never had a chance. Silence filled the bridge. Jake slumped in his chair, exhausted. We did it, he whispered. You did it, Vexral corrected. That plan was pure human insanity. Jake laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. Hours later, after the refugees were awakened and galactic authorities arrived, Jake stood on the bridge of his ship. A Krothnari official had offered him a reward. Enough money to buy 10 new ships. Jake had refused. He only wanted one thing. Are you certain? Vexral asked. You could be wealthy. I already have what I need. A ship and a partner. Jake smiled at the holographic wolf. Unless you want a different pilot? Vexral's tail swished. You are reckless. Your plans are insane. You fix things with tape and hope. He paused. But you saved 3,000 lives today. You honored my captain's sacrifice. I would be proud to fly with you. Even though I'm a primitive human? Especially because you are human. Your species does not know the meaning of impossible. Vexral's eyes gleamed. Where shall we go next? Jake looked at the stars beyond the viewport. I heard there's a salvage yard on Proxima Station. Lots of broken ships. Of course there is. Vexral sighed. Why do I feel this is the beginning of many terrible decisions? Because you know me so well already. That is what concerns me most, Vexral said, but his voice was warm. The ship's engines hummed to life. Together they jumped into the unknown.